Welcome. I'm Leonor Dely, and this is A Baha'i Perspective. Welcome to A Baha'i Perspective. I recorded an interview with Shangó Dely on November 30th, 2021. Shangó is a music producer and performer, playing drums, singing, and playing different kinds of flutes and other instruments. He produced and recorded an album called Talisman that features his mother's musical compositions. We feature music from that album in the interview. He has started a musical project with junior youth in the Canary Islands. He shares one piece in the interview that is a work in progress to give us an idea about the project. Shangó grew up in a Baha'i family, so I asked him how his family became Baha'i.
My parents became Baha'is when I was about 2 or 3 years old. I don't have too many memories about that other than the pictures and the stories told by my parents because we were very, very little. What I've been told is that my father, he was an English teacher at the Colombo Americano, this language center in Cartagena. And there was this other Baha'i who was an English teacher too. He was not too talkative about stuff, but he did have a book, The Gleanings of the Writings of Baha'u'llah. And my father caught sight of that book and got really interested in it. So he asked if he could borrow it. He said, yeah, sure, you can take it. So my father took it home. They told me that he was ablaze. He was reading this book as intense as a novel. It was not just little by little. He was devouring this book and become enamored with the Baha'i faith really quickly. And he would be showing the book to my mother all the time, saying, look what it says here, look what it says there. My mother got interested in all these things that my father was showing her. Later that year, after my father became a Baha'i, they were invited to a summer school. So off we go, the four of us. I remember my parents have a couple of motorcycles. We drove for 6 hours to get to the summer school. And there, my mom participated in this talk about the progressive revelation, which is this revolutionary concept that we learn in the Baha'i faith, that God is one and the foundations of all religions are the same. It's the same religion that changes names throughout time. So my mother heard this talk about the different prophets and messengers of God that had come in different times, teaching successively the word of God and his teachings to usher the progress of humanity. And so she heard all these manifestations of God, Abraham, Buddha, Zoroaster, Krishna, Jesus Christ, Moses, and Muhammad, and then the Bab and Baha'u'llah, Baha'u'llah being the last one of this succession of messengers of God. All of a sudden, it made sense for her that it's only one thing. Back then, I was 3 years old. My brother was 5. So from there, we started participating in children classes, trips to different towns in Colombia to teach the faith, to show these new teachings to a lot of people. And we did that through music. My father founded this music school. And from there, all of a sudden, we were all doing music together. My father, my mother, my brother, and I, with other people. So we used this capacity of playing music together to go and talk about these new teachings, the teachings of the Baha'i faith in different towns. For me, that was my upbringing.
It sounded like you have one sibling.
Yes.
What did each of your family members play as a group?
Well, my father played drums, congas, hand drums. He taught us all to play drums, so we all played drums. My mom plays a little bit of drums. I am mainly a drummer, and my brother, besides playing drums, played also guitar, bass, flutes. Besides congas and hand drums, I play piano, flutes too. We started learning percussion because my father did a percussion school. But like 3, 4 years after we started learning percussion, we were sent to the conservatory. My brother focused on classic guitar and I focused on piano. And my mother plays guitar and other native string instruments from Colombia, as well as singing.
Shango, one of the basic tenets of the Baha'i faith is independent investigation of truth. Can you identify a time when you realized that the Baha'i faith was now your religion and not so much the religion of your family?
When an individual turns 15 years old is when, according to the Baha'i teachings, you get to the spiritual maturity. You attain maturity, which means that from then on you are kind of responsible for your path in your life, and also not only the responsibilities, but you have the privileges to decide for yourself. So on that idea, I can tell you when I was 15 years old, that the day of my birthday, September 9, 1993, that midnight I was with my father and really, really, really happy. I said to my father that I wanted to be Baha'i. I pretty much identified with the Baha'i faith. I felt as a Baha'i as I can remember as early as 11, 12 years old. When I was a child, I was happy with my parents. I was really enjoying having loving parents and doing music together, doing all kinds of interesting things together. And of course, I was exposed a lot to the Baha'i way of life. But it wasn't until when I stopped being a child, I started being a junior youth. When I was 11 or 12, I don't remember exactly. I was starting to question a lot of things about my life, everything that surrounded me. It pretty much made sense for me to be a Baha'i.
Shango, we're going to play a number of selections from your album Talisman, which I understand you produced and perform in. Your mother, Leonor, composed the music with the lyrics from the writings of Baha'u'llah, namely from a small book that Baha'u'llah wrote called The Hidden Words. Can you tell us how this project came into being?
It all started way before, like years before, even more than 10 years before Talisman came out. When we were doing music together, at some point, my mother got interested in the idea of composing music using the words of the sacred writings from the Baha'i faith, writings from Baha'u'llah mainly, but also from Abdul Baha, the son of Baha'u'llah and the center of the covenant. Because she saw, and we all knew that the words revealed by Baha'u'llah were way powerful than our own words. And every time we went to talk about the progress of humanity, we wanted to do service to our communities, to help other people, and bring this educational programs. We always saw that when we used the words of Baha'u'llah, there was something happening in the faces of people. It was like they felt connected right away with something that was beyond our own reach. So my mother knew that we should do something with that. So she started composing songs with the words of Baha'u'llah. And one of the most beautiful books that you can pretty much connect with the music right away is this book, The Hidden Words, which is this book of sort of like a set of counsels coming from God to the human being, talking about his spiritual duty on this journey on earth. So my mom took a lot of words from this book, The Hidden Words, And off we went there, instead of talking to people, playing the songs. And it was beautiful because we experienced how we were connecting people from heart to heart. Music does that.
And maybe we'll experience some of that on this interview as we play some of the selections from Talisman. So, why don't we begin? Why don't you tell us the title of the first selection that you've chosen from Talisman and describe the piece for us?
Well, this one, Oye Oye, Oye Oye is like hey hey. It is connected to the idea of using the Colombian folklore. Oye Oye is something that you would hear in a traditional song from the Caribbean, from the Colombian Caribbean. And this rhythm is a native genre from Cartagena, from the Atlantic coast of Colombia. It's a rhythm called lumbalú. Lumbalú is a rhythm that is often played during funerals in some towns in Colombia. This is very transcendental, this genre already. You can feel the joy in the rhythm, you can feel the joy in the music. And from that, you can tell that music is used to help to accompany the soul in this journey, which is at the end of the day a joyful journey, passing from this life to the next. In the words, there are a couple of hidden words, text from the hidden words talking about reciprocity. God is telling the human being to lift his cause so that may be remembered in the afterworld, and to rejoice with your own happiness so that the light of God can shine within you and shine other people. And then the chorus says Allah Abha, which is an Arabic word. It's like a mantra that means God is the most glorious, which is one of the names derived from Baha'u'llah. This is one of the names that we use to refer to Baha'u'llah, which is also a common greeting among Baha'is. When we want to greet somebody with the best regard as possible, you say Allah Abha. Allah Abha. Hi, how are you? Allah Abha. So the chorus says, Oh Allah Abha. So this is a greeting for those who want to hear so that they can go back home with this light to shine.
So, Shangó, the other folks play on this piece in addition to you?
Yeah, there is J.B. Echo, a Canadian musician composer, lives in Los Angeles. He has worked with Santana and other people. There's also Ramon Stagnaro, a very famous Peruvian guitarist, also living in Los Angeles. And there's my mother, my father, my brother. And there's also Pancho Tomaselli, another Venezuelan bassist, also settled in California.
And who's the main vocalist?
Is my mother. I do the support vocals in some parts, and then there's a bunch of people doing the chorus.
All right, so we'll play Oye Oye. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah. Oye, oye.
There you go.
That's what it says. Oye, oye means also hear. Hear me out. Like, hey, man, hear what I'm saying. Oye, oye.
Enaltece nuestra causa para que yo te revele. Enaltece nuestra causa para que yo te revele los misterios de mi grandeza y así brille con mi luz. Los misterios de mi grandeza con la luz de la eternidad. Oye, oye, el más glorioso. Oye, oye, el compasivo. Oye, oye, el incomparable. Oye, Regocíjate con la alegría de tu corazón. Regocíjate con la alegría de tu corazón. Y merecerás hallarme mi belleza reflejar. Y merecerás hallarme mi belleza reflejar. Oye, oye, tan glorioso. Oye, oye, compasivo. Oye, oye, el incomparable. Oye, oye, poderoso. Oye, oye, tan glorioso. Oye, oye, compasivo. Oye, oye, el incomparable. Oye, oye, poderoso.
We just heard a piece from an album called Talisman, which Shangó Dely produced and performed in, along with his mother and some other folks. Why don't you tell us the title of the next piece from Talisman and describe the piece for us?
The next one is called Celebra. There is a Asian rhythm called Rara. It comes from the voodoo culture. Instead of being like an obscure kind of thing, is actually the opposite. Is the most sacred way Haitians view the world through the voodoo. They have a lot of rhythms. These rhythms are full of drums. So this song is a celebration with this rhythm. That's why it's called Celebrara. The song is mainly vocals and drums. There is a quartet of flutes that are doing the harmony in a very beautiful way, done by a friend of mine, Daniel Pardo, who lives in Houston right now. He's a doctor in flutes now. And the drums, my father and I are doing all these drums. Musically speaking, the idea of this whole album was to find a diversity of rhythms from different parts of the world, not just look at different rhythms that you could hear on the radio. Instead of that, my father went deep into investigating the rhythms that were pretty much less contaminated somehow if we talk about cultural pollution. My father wanted to couple these powerful words that my mom was singing with the most folkloric and pure rhythms of different parts of the world. Hence, we have rhythms from Haiti, from Colombia, from Suriname, from Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Honduras, and other parts of Latin America. Sort of like we could say creating, if we may label this movement, tribal global.
So you were referring to these different rhythms on different pieces from the album.
Yes. What my mom is singing here is the hidden word number 44 from Persian, because the book was written in Arabic and in Persian, the first part in Arabic and the second part in Persian. The number 44, this is a beautiful counsel from God to the human being. It says, see no evil, speak no evil, magnify not the faults of others, that thine own faults may not appear great, and wish not the abasement of anyone, so that thine own abasement may not be exposed. And then it goes on talking about life after this life. It says, live then the days of your life that are less than a fleeting moment. It talks about this life as a fleeting moment compared to what's going to happen after this life. And it says how you should live this life so that it may profit the most for you. Live the days of thy life that are less than a fleeting moment, with thine minds stainless, that thine heart unsullied, thy nature sanctified, and thy thoughts pure, that thou mayest free from this mortal frame and attain unto the mystical paradise and live it in paradise forevermore. What I like about this song is that my mom is singing in Spanish with the most innocent and most beautiful and most pure way of singing. And at the end, there is someone reciting in a very deep voice in English at the end, with the drums in the back, the drums and the flutes in the back. Just sit down and let yourself go. It's quite an experience.
No escuches la maldad, ni mires la maldad. No te rebajes, no suspires, ni te lamentes. No digas nada malo, para que eso mismo no llegue a tus oídos. No agrande las faltas de los demás, para que tus propias faltas no sean agrandadas. No desees la humillación de nadie, para que no sea expuesta tu propia humillación. Vive entonces los días de tu vida, que no son más que un momento efímero. Con mente inmaculada, corazón sin mancha, pensamientos puros, carácter santificado, para que libre y contento te desprendas de este cuerpo mortal y te encamines hacia el paraíso místico y habites para siempre en el reino inmortal. No escuches la maldad, ni mires la maldad. No escuches la maldad, ni mires la maldad.
No escuches la maldad, ni mires la maldad. No escuches la maldad, ni mires la maldad. No escuches la maldad, ni mires la maldad.
No te rebajes, no suspires ni te lamentes.
No escuches la maldad, ni mires la maldad. No escuches la maldad, ni mires la maldad.
Abase not thyself, neither sigh nor weep. Speak no evil, that thou mayest not hear it spoken unto thee. And magnify not the faults of others, that thine own faults may not appear great. And wish not the abasement of anyone, that thine own abasement may not be exposed. Live then the days of thy life, that are less than a fleeting moment, with thy mind stainless, thy heart unsullied, thy thoughts pure, and thy nature sanctified, so that free and content thou mayest put away this mortal frame, and repair unto the mystic paradise, and abide in the eternal kingdom forevermore.
We're listening to the music from an album called Talisman that Shangó had produced and performed in along with his mother and other folks. And Shangó is a producer and also a performer, playing drums and also singing and playing different kinds of flutes and other instruments. And so again, we've been listening to songs from the album he produced called Talisman. Why don't you tell us about the next piece, also from Talisman, called Ye Are the Stars?
Yeah, this is also words from Baha'u'llah. The Baha'i faith is very young, is the youngest of the greater religions in the world. If we consider each time a religion is given light to the world, to a day, we are right now at the beginning of the day, like early morning, so to say. So Baha'u'llah is telling us, ye are the stars of the heaven of understanding, the breeze that stirs at the break of day, the soft flowing waters upon which must depend the very life of all men. Is entrusting each one of us to share the teachings of Baha'u'llah with the premise that it is a medicine for the betterment of the world. If we know that these teachings, when put in practice, and we set to help our neighbors and create healthier communities, putting into reality these teachings, we know that we are going to eventually create a beautiful world that is right now in the fringe of extinction, but there is hope. So as Baha'is, we are entrusted with this message, and it should not be kept in theory. It should be put in practice. So this is what this song is talking about. And the music, this is a guaguancó from Cuba. It's one of the folkloric main rhythms from Cuba. At the end, it's combined with reggae, which is also pure in its sense because it was born in Jamaica as a channel of a bigger message than the music itself. So with this criteria, reggae is used to in this album.
And do you want to call out anybody who played on this particular song?
Yeah, again, J.B. Eccles, Pancho Tomaselli, and Casey Porter is playing the piano here. The producer for Santana and Ricky Martin and multi-Grammy Award winner. I co-produced the album with J.B. Eccles, and the person who was behind this album and the album before this one has been always Casey Porter, supporting our work. And not only from outside, he was involved pretty much in the process. And so he's performing his piano here.
So this is Ye Are the Stars.
Soy la estrella del cielo del entendimiento, las brisas que soplan al amanecer, fluyente agua de las cuales deben depender la misma vida de los hombres. Soy las estrellas del cielo, del entendimiento. Las letras inscritas en su sagrado pergamino. No descuidéis las virtudes con que habéis sido dotados a causa de vanas imaginaciones. Soy las estrellas del cielo, del entendimiento. No descuidéis las virtudes con que habéis sido dotados. No sean negligentes con vuestro alto destino. No permitáis que vuestros esfuerzos se pierdan a causa de vanas imaginaciones. Soy la estrella del cielo, del entendimiento. Soy la estrella del cielo, del entendimiento.
Soy la estrella del cielo, del entendimiento.
La brisa que sopla al amanecer.
Soy la estrella del cielo, del entendimiento.
La brisa que sopla al amanecer.
Soy la estrella del cielo, del entendimiento.
Las aguas de las cuales deben depender.
Soy la estrella del cielo, del entendimiento.
La misma vida de los hombres del entendimiento.
Soy la estrella del cielo, del entendimiento.
Las brisas que soplan al amanecer.
Soy la estrella del cielo, del entendimiento.
Las estrellas del cielo, del entendimiento. Del entendimiento. Las estrellas del cielo,
Del entendimiento,
las brisas que soplan
del entendimiento,
al amanecer.
del entendimiento.
¡Guiro!
Del entendimiento.
we're listening to the music produced by Shangó Dely. Shangó is a producer and also a performer, playing drums and also singing and playing different kinds of flutes and other instruments. He produced and recorded an album called Talisman, and we're listening to the pieces that were created for that. And these pieces are mostly composed by his mother, putting the Baha'i scriptures to music. Shangó, why don't you describe for us the next piece from Talisman?
The music for this one was composed by my father. See, my father, he was traveling since 1998 until late 2004 or 5 in different parts of the world. He was teach drums, and he invented this notation for hand drums. He was teaching good technique and how to write the rhythms of different peoples in some countries in Africa, namely Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, Gambia, Ghana, and Guinea-Bissau. Then he came back to Latin America, went to Brazil, Suriname, French Guiana, Haiti, Honduras, Galapagos. Particularly in Suriname, he was teaching to a tribe called Bush Negro over there. Some of the teachings of Baha'u'llah, mainly they don't know how to read, so they learn everything by memory using music. It was quite a great experience for my father to be like teaching their sort of music to people who are using music as a way of life. It was interesting. There was this melody that they were singing that my father got enamored with. From there, he composed this melody, which became like a mantra, invocation, an invocation, using these words, Ya Baha'u'llah Ha, which is Arabic. That means, O thou glory of glories. If you say it, O thou glory of glories, Ya Baha'u'llah Ha, Ya Baha'u'llah Ha, you're kind of like invoking the good spirits into your life, into your surroundings. That's the idea of this song. Singing this with one person calling for that and a choir of 48 people responding to that. With drums, this is a rhythm from the Bush Negro. It has in the back cello and guitar and some reverb delay and all these kinds of things.
Sounds very eclectic.
Yeah, tribal global.
Ya Baula Fa, 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 Ya Baula Fa. Ya Baula Fa.
We're listening to the music from an album called Talisman, which Shangó Dely produced and recorded. And he's a producer and a performer, playing drums and also singing and playing different kinds of flutes and other instruments. We just heard a piece from that album, Talisman. The final piece from an
Yeah.
album you're producing right now. You described it as a project with the Junior Youth Program in the Canary Islands. So tell us about that.
One of the main educational activities carried out by all the Baha'i communities throughout the world is related to the spiritual empowerment of junior youth. Junior youth, namely individuals from 11 to 15 years old, before they are youth in the full sense of the word, and right after they stop being children. So this program is focused on releasing this power inherent in human beings, especially at that age. In this program, art has a particular space. Art helps releasing this power itself. In Canary Island, they have been composing workshops for like 7 years so far. They are using the concepts they are learning and putting them into songs, using their own words, using their own rhymes to create beautiful songs. And so I caught eye of that and decided I wanted to produce an album for them. This is actually the second album producing for them. The first album was released in 2017.
And Shangó, what's the name of that album?
The first album is called Nuestra Voz. These songs talk about the true friendship, the need for excellence in your life, the ties of family as a gift. This new album, the songs are composed around the figure of Abdul Baha. This year marks the centenary of the ascension of Abdul Baha. He was an important figure in the Baha'i faith because he's the successor of Baha'u'llah and the exemplar of what it means to be a Baha'i. He was constantly serving people around him. Over 40 uni youth and youth are involved not only in singing and performing in this album, but also they were behind the composition of all these songs, except one that was composed by a friend of mine, Alicia Perdú, a Baha'i from Spain. But the lyrics are a famous quote by Abdul Baha that talks about love. Abdul Baha talks about love that says it's not just a sentiment, a feeling that you might have for one person, but it's something else. It's something more powerful than that. He says, love gives life to the lifeless. Love lights a flame in the heart that is cold. Love brings hope to the hopeless and gladdens the hearts of the sorrowful. In the world of existence, there is indeed no greater power than the power of love. So that in Spanish, el amor da vida a los que no la tienen. El amor enciende una llama en el corazón helado. El amor enciende esperanza a los desesperados y alegra las almas de los angustiados. No existe poder mayor que el poder del amor. That is what the song talks about. We try to do it as lovingly as possible so that it conveys exactly what it says with the universal language that is music. And I hope you enjoy it. This is a rough mix. We are not quite finished with that. There are some elements that we need to record still. We need to record the violin, violoncello, and some percussion. But the structure of the song and the feeling that we wanted to convey is already there. I hope you enjoy it despite the fact that it's not finished.
El amor da vida a los que no la tienen. El amor enciende una llama en el corazón helado.
El amor concede esperanza a los desesperados
Y alegra las almas, y alegra las almas de los angustiados. El amor da vida a los que no la tienen. El amor enciende una llama en el corazón helado. El amor concede esperanza a los desesperados y alegra las almas, y alegra las almas de los angustiados. No existe poder mayor que el poder del amor. No existe poder mayor que el poder del amor. El poder del amor. El poder del amor.
da vida àqueles que não a têm. O amor acende uma chama no coração gelado.
El amor concede esperanza
Esperança
a los desesperados y alegra las almas, y alegra las almas, y alegra las almas, y alegra las de los angustiados.
No existe poder mayor
El poder del amor.
No existe poder mayor
Que el poder del amor, que el poder del amor, el poder del amor,
acende
el poder del
chama no coração gelado. Uma chama
vida
coração
a los que no la tienen. La vida a los que no la tienen. A los que no la tienen. Los que no la tienen.
da vida, da vida,
Los que no la tienen.
da vida, da vida.
Los que no la tienen.
We're listening to the music of Shangó Dely, who is a producer and also a performer, playing drums and also singing and playing different kinds of flutes and other instruments. And he produced and recorded an album called Talisman, which we had heard pieces from earlier in the interview. Shangó, thank you so much for taking this time to share your music with us. I really enjoyed the time spent with you.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Shangó Dely, music producer, percussionist, vocalist, and player of other instruments. You can find him on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can find this interview and other interviews on the website abahaiperspective.com and on the YouTube channel, A Baha'i Perspective. You can also find the podcast on Spotify and iTunes. For information specifically on the Baha'i Faith, you can go to the website baha'i.org, or you can call the number 1-800-22-UNITE. I hope you'll join me next time on A Baha'i Perspective.